Well, folks, it's that time again. Time to dive back into what is the woke media whining about today. I'm going to go down the rabbit hole with this one because apparently some people over at CBR think that Marvel Comics needs a full reboot. Now, say what you will about Marvel Comics and some of the very questionable decisions that they are making when it comes to comics and pretty much everything else that they do lately. They have never done a full reboot of their universe. What started off then continues on now. Even if now it's completely unrecognizable and you wonder what the hell they're doing, you haven't done that. DC, on the other hand, has done multiple reboots to the entire roster to the point now where you're not even sure what the hell they were going with or what happened and stuff like that. They started off one thing, canceled that, went back to something else. It happens. So CBR has this article out here called Marvel Comics Needs a Full Reboot. And some people might be thinking, well, yeah, that makes sense. Let's have Marvel Comics get a reboot. They really need it. But as I go through this, I'm going to explain exactly why I think this is a terrible idea. And I'm going to give points as to why. Right. So let's dive into this one here. Marvel Comics has had great success in the superhero landscape over the decades. From Spider-Man to Fantastic Four to the Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel is home to an endless supply of exciting heroes and their stories. The only problem with the comics giant and its gigantic catalog of series and stories is that it's nearly impenetrable for new readers curious about the characters and stories. With so many new fans flocking to comic book shelves because of the success of the live-action films and television series of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it is vitally important that Marvel comic book branch is ready and waiting to meet the demand of this large group of eager new readers. Unlike their distinguished competition at DC, Marvel Comics has never done a full-on universe-wide reboot, and it seems perhaps that this is exactly what they need to do. So here's the thing. First off, we're talking about how it have a whole set of fans flocking to comic book shops because of the success of the live action television series and Marvel Cinematic Universe. That is not true. In the beginning, when the MCU was hot, and it had fans who actually looking to check out these comic books at the time, when they went there, they weren't getting the heroes that they were getting Marvel's all new, all diverse crap. When they turned when they turned Spider-Man black, you had Riri Williams is the new Iron Man. All of this nonsense was going on. You had Amadeus Cho as the totally awesome Hulk and all this crap that nobody asked for. Nobody. And the fact is that now that's not even happening. People aren't going, new fans aren't coming in because of the MCU, because the MCU has gotten so cold now, nobody wants to actually read it. Nobody wants to actually see anything and then go out and read anything associated with it. But even if you say that, the MCU influencing fans, the fact is that the MCU, as it stands, as it is, you understand me, is not a one-for-one representation of what happens in comics. Yeah, there are some similarities, but for the most part, it's very different. So you're not going to get what happened in the MCU is going to translate into the comics. That's completely different. They're two different mediums. But again, you are bringing in new families, act like it's almost impossible for them to get it. It's not really impossible to read comics and get some kind of idea what's going on. Not everybody started reading comics back in the 60s or something like that for 50 years. No, I didn't start reading comics then. I started reading comic books when I was like about 6 or 7 years old. That's when I started. And I said before, I say again, I have not read every comic book out there when it comes to everything. No. Where I grew up, was that we did not have that. So I have read certain things, other things I've read here and there, picked up information, that's it. But it does not mean I am not a fan. And now people have better access to certain things. So acting like there's no entry to this, just ludicrous. But the article goes on and to make some points. I'm gonna go through all of them. Marvel's complicated history is confusing to many readers. Though the Marvel Comics universe is absolutely beloved by fans new and old, there is no denying that it has its issues. Unless readers started out in the early 60s alongside the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man, chances are that most fans jumped onto the Marvel train decades into its history. What used to be a somewhat easily accessible and understandable universe has now become so bogged down in its own lore and canon that new stories often feel like they are simply rehashing or reiterating aspects of a story written 3 decades ago. It's hard to develop new and exciting character arcs for heroes who have been battling ups and downs for the better part of 50 years. No, that's completely wrong. There is always going to be new interesting stories and exciting things to tell. Once you have good people writing it, they can do that. But to act like, because Marvel Comics has had so many people for so many years that people don't know where to start or they don't know what's going on. I would literally argue that more people should go back and read some of the Marvel comics from the past when they were actually good. That's some of the nonsense that you're getting today. I would argue that because unless you actually under the impression that people don't know what's good or what's bad or anything like that, you're literally putting yourself in a place to end up getting in some serious trouble. Because there are many people who will not know certain things and they think, well, okay, this is how it's always supposed to be. Or you said, oh, it's difficult to create new stories. No, it isn't. That's the thing about creativity and writing comics. The only limit is your imagination. You're not writing Hollywood scripts to worry about budget or anything like that. No, your imagination, your creativity, your ingenuity is your one guiding factor that you have, and that is limitless. You could create, expand, do whatever you want with that. That is the power that you have right there. So don't give that external, oh, it's difficult. Like, no, you can do it, but you don't want to hire competent writers. You want to hire weirdos, want to push agendas. That's it. They want to make another thing. You will say characters who have taken on multiple identities are also often confusing for new readers. Carol Danvers was once known as Miss Marvel, then she was Warbird for a bit, then Binary, and currently she is Captain Marvel. This level of confusion is far too much for any reader who is merely curious about the medium of comic books. If someone who loved the Captain Marvel movie wanted to read about Carol's adventures, and I said, you know what, the fact of the matter, if you're going to say that somebody loved the Captain Marvel movie, I think you're just talking nonsense there. Let's be honest with that. They continue on here to say, the Marvel Ultimate Universe proved a reboot can work. With the mainline Marvel universe in such a state of complexity and a convolution, alternate reality stories like those set in the Ultimate Universe are breaths of fresh air. The original Ultimate Universe that arrived on comic shelves in the early 2000s reinvigorated the industry as well as fan interest in Marvel stories as a whole. Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley's game-changing Ultimate Spider-Man was one of the most well-received and beloved series that the comics giant was releasing at the time. Despite occasional controversy, fans flocked to it because it was a fresh start, a way to get in on the ground floor of a brand new look at the iconic web-slinging hero from New York. Okay, let me address the first part. We'll talk about the Ultimate Universe. Okay, the Ultimate Universe is basically the blueprint for what the MCU was. They took the concept of the MCU from the Ultimate Universe. That's what happened there. But to act like the Ultimate Universe was something that was so amazing. No, the Ultimate Universe ran for a time and then it quickly ran out of steam because people were like, I really don't care anymore. What you're doing here does not actually affect the main line of heroes that I actually enjoy. The stories that they were telling, some were good, some were controversial, some were bad, fine. But over time, interest in it fizzled out and it went away. They go on to talk about Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley's game-changing Ultimate Spider-Man. When it started off with Peter Parker, people were looking at it like, okay, fine, all right. Then you brought in Miles Morales and we were like, all right, a new Spider-Man and it's going to work. Let's see what's going on. When people quickly realized the reason this person existed because he was just basically Peter Darker, people stopped caring really. Now there are those who are going to argue that, Miles Morales, when he was in his own universe as Spider-Man, was really good and all that thing. Okay, you want to argue that, no problem with it. But the fact is, all the villains he was fighting was just Spider-Man villains. Miles Morales had nothing of his own and he still doesn't. Had you made an actual original hero, that's what you could have done. But you read what they say that the ultimate universe was some kind of reboot. It wasn't. It was something that was happening in an alternate universe. It was not essential to the main 616. And fans quickly got tired of it. Or I shouldn't say quickly. After a period of time, they got tired of it. And it moved, and that was it. Now we have Ultimate Universe basically 2.0 out now. And apart from Ultimate Spider-Man in there, the rest of it is kind of struggling. And to be honest with you, I don't see this thing making it past maybe 3 to 5 years. Honestly, if even so long. Maybe that. You want rebooting anything and say that was some kind of thing, act like, the Ultimate Universe, some great thing to show that, Marvel could do this big reboot. No, it was an alternate universe story that people could actually check out here and there and say, okay, this is something let's take a look at over here. But it was not affecting the main Marvel universe. And when people realize, this is not connected to what I am actually reading. This is something, and this is something that I am reading, as some kind of else world story kind of thing like that. You understand me? Some kind of multiple story. And then it quickly lost steam. I keep saying quickly, but after a period of time, because it lasted a few years, I think it lasted like about almost 10 years, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. It lost steam, and then they just moved on from it. Yes, they dragged Miles Morales over to the 6%, but that was pretty much it. Nobody really cared after that. Marvel could take a page out of DC's book. What they're saying here is that DC Comics has had varying success with its numerous attempts at full reboots. A fact that Marvel could easily take advantage of, since there is so much documented history of the trials and tribulations associated with DC's attempts at universe reboots. Marvel should be able to navigate the tricky process with much less trouble. Though DC's New 52 was somewhat controversial among fans, it's hard to deny that it was home to tons of incredible stories, even though it took away from some of the past DC works that fans loved so much. The New 52 also provided so much new content for fans to fall in love with. A more successful DC reboot was in the wake of Crisis on Infinite Earths, where things changed more subtly and it was more centered around streamlining stories and characters rather than trying to shift the tone and mood of a myriad of books in the name of unity. Now, okay, Crisis on Infinite Earths is one of the best storylines that DC has ever done. They basically said, you know what, we're going to streamline everything and go back to the basis of what it is we were doing. That was it. But to act like the New 52 was some rousing success is an outright lie. When New 52 started off, and people were like, okay, let's take a look at this and what was going on. They were making changes to things, and then it wasn't making sense. We're like, okay, we're going to change Batman, but we had to change him back. We're going to change this one, but we got to change them. And I said before, I said again, one thing I did like about New 52 was some of the Justice League's outfit. I think Superman outfit looked okay. Batman looked okay. They gave Wonder Woman pants, which was all right in my opinion, you know. Still like the shorts, but still, I must say. Understand me? But everything associated with the New 52 eventually just went away when they see reality. You know what? We have screwed up so badly here. We don't know what the hell we did. Let's just cancel it and move on. So everybody who got invested in the New 52 thinking that, you know, this was the start of something, got the rug pulled out from under them and had to go right back to something. And DC has done numerous reboots over and over where they've done this and then had to just go back and backtrack to try and repair something that was done. I mean, look at what they did to Superman in the New 52. It started off with a story with him, and then it went this weird direction where he was using, like, I think it was solar flare and losing his powers. Then he started riding around on motorcycle. It was absolute craziness. Absolute craziness. But they were acting like this was somehow something great that they were doing. It wasn't. Anybody who invested in the New 52 left disappointed. The whole thing will be one giant waste of time at the end. So no, New 52 is not some kind of, you know, showing that, you know, oh, we couldn't reboot this. No. If anything, it shows that, you know, you should not do it. That's what it does. They go on to say a universal reboot for Marvel Comics just makes sense, and it's something that fans could certainly see beaming on the horizon. Though Jonathan Hickman's 2015 event Secret Wars was one of Marvel's best events in its entire history, acted as a sort of attempt at soft rebooting the universe and adjusting canon for the sake of streamlining, it wasn't quite enough. The aftermath of Secret Wars just wasn't different enough from what had come before to actually be considered a reboot. Yes, characters like Miles Morales were added to the mainline universe, still most continuity remained completely intact, and even Miles' new status quo relied upon the fact that he came from a previously dead universe. Look, I did not read out all of Secret Wars. From what I do remember reading of it, I thought it was okay. But yes, it was clear that they were trying to do some kind of reboot there. But then in the end, Marvel kind of chicken out and decided, you know what? We can't touch that. Let me just leave it there. Yes, like I said earlier, they dragged Miles Morales into the main of the because, as I said many times before, they just want a black, Latino, multiracial Spider-Man. That's it. And like what happened with him in his own universe, his own comics, he's now in his 616 and nobody knows what to do with him, but they refuse to get rid of him because that would make the literal 10 people on Twitter who have 1,000 bots behind them angry. There's nothing in this article that literally says to me that, you know, rebooting the Marvel universe would be a good thing. If anything, this article, it's a terrible idea. You should not reboot it. What you need to do is actually get competent writers to start fixing the damage that you have done to the Marvel universe. Stop making Spider-Man a waste of space. Fix the X-Men, fix the Avengers, bring in new stories. Stop making everything into some kind of event every freaking year. And do good stories. That's what fans want. You don't need to reboot Marvel Universe because people could always go back and read great stories and then come forward and read even better stories if you decide to do that. But no, that's what needs to be done. Not a reboot to try and act like, well, we go fix it by this following DC, who has had multiple failures with rebooting their universe. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. If you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. If you like, to hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell to be notified every time I upload a new video. And I shall see you all next time. Take care.